Welcome to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. Grab your favorite mug, sit back, and enjoy. Now here's your host, Caryn Fitzgerald.
Hello there. We are back. I'm going to tell you who I've got here in just a moment. I'm going to give this woman an extra special introduction because I believe she deserves it. What if you were beaten and bullied at work? Not physically beaten, but what if you were being bullied at work? Most people have the ability to go to a supervisor or another person in the department, HR and all that kind of stuff, and get that resolved pretty quickly. And, what if, though, the place you're working happens to be a government agency and nobody's doing anything? And it's going on in all different places. So, it's a difficult situation. My next guest is Dawn Westmoreland, and she is a speaker, a writer, a breakthrough life coach, and a hypnotherapist. She is an incredibly brave woman, and I say that because she exposed the Veterans Affairs for all kinds of actions that were going on, totally prohibited personnel actions. And she went through 2 years of horrific bullying. If you map that out, you're looking at about 4,000 hours. And she was a leader in hiding. Well, you know what? She came out of hiding, and not only did Dawn take on this government agency and set things straight, she is also the founder of the Foundation of Respect, and that is a nonprofit organization that the sole purpose is to empower men and women who are being bullied in the workplace. So, ladies and gentlemen, this morning, I'd like us to give a warm welcome to Dawn Westmoreland, calling in from, I believe, North Carolina. Good morning, Dawn. Are you with us?
I sure am. I'm actually in Asheville, North Carolina, and I'm so happy to be with you.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful. Okay, Dawn, you know what? You've been through a lot, and this all happened. I mean, we're not talking about, years ago. This is something that this all got resolved just earlier this year. Is that correct?
Yeah, we went ahead and settled, my attorney and I settled 2 days before the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission hearing. So it was in the first week of March of this year.
Tell us a little bit about your background. And I know you spent years in the HR and personnel type side, but tell us a little bit about your background and how this all came to be.
Well, sure. I went in the Air Force when I was 20 years old, and I stayed in HR most of my career. And I was a first sergeant in the Air Force and an Air Force recruiter. And I retired about 10 years ago, and I love education. I love learning. So I'm very much a nerdy kind of girl. And I end up earning 4 degrees. And I had a horticulture degree, and I ended up getting a master's in management in HR. So I ended up doing a landscape and design business. That I was an entrepreneur, and I was very successful at it. And then the economy changed, remember that, and back in 2008. And so it led me to find something a little bit safer and more sure, because landscaping really was a luxury and not a necessity. So I went and worked in the Veteran Affairs because I'm very familiar with government, and I worked there for 5 years. And first I started out 2 years in HR, and then I ended up doing different administrative work. So when I worked in one of the VA agencies in West Asheville, the first thing that I noticed is that a lot of the people were family and friends. And as I watched the hiring practices, I noticed there was a lot of nepotism and hiring a family and friends, which is absolutely illegal in the government. And I watched certain people being trained while others were not trained, so that they would qualify for jobs and positions. And, sad to say, I noticed that there were family and friends with GED education moving up into jobs like $90,000 a year. And for myself, I worked hard to get a master's, and I watched other people who had MBAs that could not move up, and we were all at the bottom of the ladder. So I questioned it, and as soon as I questioned it with management, that's when all the harassment and bullying began. And so I filed it with the Office of Special Counsel in Washington, D.C., and they're set up for government prohibited personnel action. And they didn't do anything about it. And also another coworker filed charges too. And all they did, I felt like, was just brush it under the rug. But I didn't stop. I went ahead and filed charges with the Equal Employment Opportunity Commission. And while I was waiting for, the hearing and such, because it does take time, I received a lot of bullying at work. And, I was stalked, and all of a sudden I was getting harassing phone calls at home, and I was denied the right to go get medical care as a disabled veteran at the VA hospital, which was another VA agency. And so I started getting charged with absence without leave, even though I was doing the appropriate paperwork. And management tried to fire me. They made up false charges, and they put me what they call on administrative leave, where for about 100 days I could not be at work while they reviewed everything legally.
Wow.
And so I was being paid to stay at home, which was a serious waste in government spending, because just about all of it was, I don't know what the right legal term is, but it was not accepted. So I was not fired, and I don't know how it happened, but there was another coworker who also filed charges, who still has charges against them, and is going to have a hearing here before long too, with the same management. But our phones were blocked, where we could not call each other, and I could not call my mother, of all things. So it just got crazier and crazier, and then I asked for my records, which they call it Freedom of Information Act records, FOIA. So I asked for my FOIA records, which by law everybody's entitled to, and to this day I've never received it. And that basically is anything with my name on it. So my computer was hacked in, my office was violated. I'm 6 foot tall, just about, and I'm not a little girl by any means. And they had me work in a cramped office environment, and basically laughed at me when I asked for help to make it more ergonomically, comfortable. So those are some of the things that I went through.
So basically, what you're saying is, as an adult, you were basically, verbally abused, stalked, phones blocked, things, we hear about these, computers hacked and tapped and phone lines tapped and all that stuff. And we hear about that stuff. We see that in TV and in the movies, but you lived this. This was your life. Am I understanding that correctly? Was this your life for a couple of years there?
Yeah, Caryn, it really was my life. I mean, it got to the point of ridiculousness, and I just couldn't believe that anybody could act that badly. I even received a bill for $19,000 and over $19,000 if I wanted to get my FOIA records. And, with my 22 years background and my master's in HR, I knew how to get my FOIA records, and I knew that the different things that they were doing were totally illegal and just totally harassing. But yeah, they tried to get me to drop getting my records by trying to give me a false $19,000 charge for my records.
Wow.
That was just crazy. My attorney and I just couldn't believe that.
Well, that $19,000 probably would have made a little bit of a dent in our government spending issue here. That's probably what it was for. Trying to offset the other stuff. But I guess that's another story. We're going to take a quick break here, and you know what, folks? I'm gonna tell you, when you go through this kind of stuff at work, I've been fortunate. I haven't had a fraction of the experience that Dawn went through, but I would love to know what it's like to come through that. When we come back, we're gonna talk to Dawn more about what she took with this pain and how she allowed it to propel her forward into her project today. And before we talk to Dawn about that after this break, here we go. We'll be back in a moment.
Stay tuned. Coffee and Coaching with Caryn will be back after these messages.
Need a little more happiness in your life? Here you go. The Happiness Recipe Podcast to the rescue. Listen each week as June Klein and Sandy Weaver Carmen share wit, wisdom, and wonderful food with their guests. Guaranteed to add happiness to your life. happinessrecipe.net.
Yo, attention authors, share your work on Coffee and Book Chat. Book reviews, author interviews, blog posts all about you and your book. Visit coffeeandcoachingradio.com for details today.
Are you looking for quality entertainment and activities for the entire family? Then come on down to the Plaza Theater Company and Plaza Academy Dance Studio, located in Cleburne, Texas. The Plaza Theater Company is an award-winning community theater that presents 10 productions a year, performing every single weekend. If you have a child that enjoys acting, dancing, or singing, then you can enroll them in the Plaza Academy Dance Studio. For more information, visit plaza-theater.com or call 817-202-0600.
Welcome to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. Grab your favorite mug, sit back, and enjoy. Now here's your host, Caryn Fitzgerald.
Good morning, everybody. We are back, and we are with the incredible Dawn Westmoreland. Now, Dawn has gone through so many crazy things that most of us think, wow, this stuff happens only in the movies. But the reality is, computers being hacked, phones being tapped, stalking, all kinds of workplace bullying in terms of verbal abuse and all kinds of other stuff going on. We're not talking physical attacks here, but, some other stuff. And as adults, first of all, we don't think of bullying in relationship to adults. We think of bullying in relationship to kids. So here we go. You've got an adult woman who spent decades working in HR and understands all the rules and the regs and, how to play politically and professionally correct. And she's getting trampled on, not by just, Joe Schmo's company on the side of the road here, but by the Veterans Affairs. I mean, this is a government agency. And so Dawn has shared with us the challenges she went through. And Dawn, I would love for you to share some of the lessons you've learned in terms of helping somebody else. So let's say I've got somebody listening out there that's saying, oh my gosh, I went through and I'm currently going through what Dawn went through. What advice do you give to someone who is going through workplace bullying? What are some steps to take for them to shift out of that position?
Yeah, one of the first things that I highly recommend is documenting what's going on. And that's what really helped me with my case, and it made the attorney's job so easy, is really from day one when I noticed that I was going to be harassed, and I started documenting everything. And instead of verbally asking supervisors questions, the ones that were harassing and bullying me, I would send them emails. And that way I had documentation that I asked them, for example, that I needed medical care. And, when I was denied, I had all that in writing. So it's really, really important to document. But here's one thing that's really important is you can't leave it at work, because my office space was violated, my computer, they went through all of my emails and such. So what I did every day is I documented and I printed it out, and then I hand carried it at home. So when I did seek an attorney, I had everything chronologically, and it just made things so easy. And the lawyer didn't even hesitate to take me on, because he saw that it was very professional and that I had the proof that it wasn't just a he said, she said. And I think that's where people get in trouble, is that they don't have anything to back it up. Because really, when it comes down to it, you really have to prove that you're harassed and bullied. So I would contact the director and I would tell him, look, all this harassing and bullying is harming me physically and mentally. And, one of my issues that I had in the Air Force was major depression. And that was because back when I was Air Force recruiter, I was asked to do some things that were illegal. And I fought it because I didn't want to do it. And I ended up going through major depression as they made my life, living hell. So major depression, is one of the issues I had to deal with. And I was constantly emailing the director and telling him, look, this is harming me. The actions that your management and this is really seriously harming me. So definitely documentation, and you have to stand up for your rights too. two of my former coworkers came up to me with really good situations or cases, and I helped them file charges. And they filed charges, and they had good cases, but the first time they got bullied, they backed down, and then later they called me and cried about it, and I told them up front, you've got to stand firm, you've got to have the backbone and know that some people are going to push you, and they're going to, they're going to harass and bully you. And they did. They really bullied them. But when you lose that that self-respect for yourself, and you give away your personal power, that's when bullies just jump in and take advantage of you. So definitely document, stand up for your rights, know that there is an agency that you can reach out to report it.
Well, and that's a big one. Dawn, tell us a little bit. Tell us a little bit. First, I would love for you to clarify just a bit, because there's people out there going, my boss is just a turd, or this guy next to me in the cubicle is saying or doing whatever. Tell us a little bit about how the government, what they consider bullying and harassment. I'm not talking about government per se in the Veterans Affairs industry, but just overall regulations. So when you said you talked with an attorney and the other people talked with their attorneys, tell us a little bit about what is considered harassment or bullying in the workplace. Where do people need to be aware that this is happening?
Yeah, if you feel that you're in an unsafe situation where you're just being harassed, that's an example of being bullied and harassed. In the government, you have to be treated with respect. You have to be treated properly. You can't be singled out for harassment. Like if something was, you'd made an error, in work, they're not allowed to just single you out and, not single out other people. So when, you're being singled out, discriminated against because of something, that's harassment, that's bullying. When you have somebody that's stalking you or, giving you glaring looks or mistreating you, that's bullying and harassment.
Okay, wow, that clarifies a lot. I mean, I'll tell a story, and by all means, this is not to make light of the situation, but my husband and I have been together now. We've been married 15 years, and we've been together on and off for, I think 20-something or 30-something. It just seems like forever. And people will ask us, how did you meet? Well, we tell the story, and we say, if this happened in today's world, it would be considered sexual harassment. But this, it happened back in the 90s, and my husband, I was a hostess in a restaurant, and he was a waiter, and every time he'd walk by the hostess stand, he would swap my bottom with a menu. And I would say to him, cut it out. Now, we were, young and stupid. We were in our not even 20 at the time. And I said, cut it out. And I'd laugh and everything. And he'd look at me and he'd do it again on his way back the other way. And finally, I said, what is it going to take for you to stop swatting my bottom with a menu? And he said, go out with me. And I said, are you serious? And he said, yeah. So that's all it's going to take. So, years later, we had our ups and downs, and years later we got married, have a beautiful child, and 15 years of marriage, and we look back at it in a joking manner because it was never serious. He never had malicious intent. And had I said to him, look, I'm not interested, please stop doing that, he would have. And so I think, that kind of situation, even like I said, today's workplace considered sexual harassment. That kind of situation where if you tell the person to stop and they stop, that's not something I would say is harassment or bullying. But you're talking about you went to people and you said, this is not right, I want this to stop, I'm uncomfortable, and they didn't. They kept going, and they did things in ways, like I said, that we hear in the movies. So you took this experience, I mean, this was 2 years of your life, and you took this experience. First of all, why did you choose, and what made you willing to go through all of this and to stay there in order to hold these people accountable? What was it in you that knew that this was something you had to do for you?
Well, I also heard that from my attorney, too, because he said he'd never met anybody that would be willing to go through what I did to hold somebody accountable. Well, first of all, I was raised by a mother and dad that gave me, taught me very good ethics, taught me to be professional, to work hard and to be respectful to others. When I was in the Air Force, I was a first sergeant, which is like a leadership position where I was over the enlisted people, watching out for them, for their needs. So I watched other people at work being harassed and bullied too if they spoke up against anything at all. And, I'll tell you, Caryn, spending 20 years in the Air Force will definitely toughen you up. And so I guess I've always been a strong person. And I was willing to hang in there, even though it got worse and worse and worse. I was willing to hang in there to hold them accountable because nothing makes me angrier than watching somebody being mistreated. And I watched a lot of people being mistreated, and I noticed a lot of people that were scared at work of this management, how they were behaving. They were fearful of being fired or they didn't know their rights like I did. I mean, for me, I thought about it, I discerned over it, and I knew I was supposed to go through this. I knew I could hang in there. I knew it was tough. I had 22 years of HR experience. I knew every law regulation that was violated. I handed that over to my attorney. So deep down inside, I knew I was supposed to be, the person that, came out of hiding, the leader that came out of hiding and said, hey, this is wrong and I'm not going to take it. And so I hung in there. I hung in there to the very end.
Wow. First of all, thank you for hanging in there, because there are people that just would have given up and walked away, closed the door, and pretended it didn't happen. And you stuck it out. And as a result of that, we are blessed today because you founded a nonprofit, the Foundation of Respect. And I understand that's a nonprofit that you established that the sole purpose is to empower men and women who are being bullied in the workplace. And you offer men and women the ability to seek guidance through coaching, through different speaking engagements, workshops, online training, free tips. And the Foundation of Respect also offers men and women the ability to recover and step into their personal power to feel more confident. And I know you've been sought out. The media has been chasing you down to discuss this mission and the story behind the Foundation of Respect. Tell us more about what you're doing today to help empower men and women through your foundation.
Well, one of the things that I'm doing, Caryn, is I'm talking about my story. And even though, it can sometimes be awkward and uncomfortable, telling people that, hey, I landed in the mental health ward, but you know what, on the third day, I realized the biggest bully was me for staying a victim. And I checked myself out, and from that day forward, I said, I will never be a victim again. So I think that's what inspires a lot of people is that, I had bought into the victimhood, and now I am not a victim. Boy, I'm out there empowering men and women, telling my story. And, the Christian Science Monitor magazine picked me up and did an article on me shortly after all this happened. So, it's really important for me to get out there, get my message, to be able to speak, to get articles written on it. And I tell everybody, if you've been bullied or if you've been through bullying, I offer every single person out there a 20-minute strategy session, a breakthrough session with me, because I've been through a lot, but I also know I was meant to go through it, and I know that I can help other people shift and recover, or, just empower them by telling them what they can do to support their case.
That is incredible. Most people don't realize that there are resources available, and it sounds like by connecting to the Foundation of Respect, people can find not only you and the incredibly vast amount of guidance and resource that you provide, but they can also find additional resources through you, where if it's something you personally don't do through the foundation, you can direct them to where they need to be. Is that accurate? Am I understanding that correctly?
Yeah, it's very true, because I have a lot of knowledge and a lot of resources that I can provide people. And, when I get out there talking, people come running up afterwards to talk to me. I know back in April, I was in Fort Lauderdale at one of Dr. Wayne Dyer's workshops, and we were writing about, being a victim, and then you had to fill it in. And I intuitively knew I'd be called to the stage, and I was, and I read my story about how I was a victim and how I am no longer. And it amazed me because all these people came out of the woodworks running after me with tears in their eyes because, they had been bullied. And they were happy, what I'm doing with my mission to get out there and tell my story, to empower people, to start raising money for the nonprofit so I can get out there and do more, speak more, consult more, do some online resources, do training and workshops to empower people. If people understand their rights and what they can do and resources, that really empowers them, and they don't feel like they have to be a victim in workplace bullying. And then to be able to help them recover if they've been through it. There's so many people that have shut down and they're living small because they've been bullied and they've never recovered from it.
That's a powerful statement. Shut down and living small. People have the ability to change their life's direction in a moment, and it takes just a decision to do so. And ladies and gentlemen, this morning we are talking to Dawn Westmoreland. Dawn is the founder of the Foundation of Respect, and she is just an incredible woman who went through workplace bullying, came out on the other side, and is talking with us this morning about how she helps others and empowers men and women to get through that challenge and come out on the other side. We're going to take a quick break, so we will be back with Coffee and Coaching with Caryn.
Stay tuned. Coffee and Coaching with Caryn will be back after these messages.
Hey Lily, do you have lines, wrinkles, or low energy?
Yeah, I do.
Well, change it all now. Look and feel younger from the comfort of your own home today.
How?
Visit 10yearsyounger.now.com for your free personal consultation.
Thanks, guys.
You're welcome.
Looking to monetize your passions? Ready to get paid for doing what you love? Contact Caryn at coffeeandcoachingradio@gmail.com and get creative strategies for developing income while doing what you love.
Dreaming of turning your book into an audiobook? Make it happen. More and more people are discovering the joy of audiobooks. They should be discovering you. Our professional personal service gives you just the audio product you've dreamed of. Check us out, voiceworkondemand.com.
Welcome to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. Grab your favorite mug, sit back, and enjoy. Now here's your host, Caryn Fitzgerald.
Hello there. We are back, and I am just blown away by all the information that I am learning from Dawn Westmoreland this morning. Just never realized how powerful a decision. Wow, the shift in a life in just making one decision to stick out through something that's just horrendous. And workplace bullying, especially with the Veterans Affairs, it was just kind of, 2 years of heck in a handbag for Dawn, but yet she stuck it out. And on the other side of that, she created the Foundation of Respect, which is a nonprofit. And now she is all about empowering men and women who are dealing with workplace bullying. And Dawn, first of all, I commend you for investing 2 years in your life and staying in that struggle to come out on the other side and know that it's all about the give back and to be of service to others. So I commend you for putting yourself through that when you could have easily just walked away and gone into hiding. So thank you for that. Tell us.
Oh, thank you, Caryn. Yes.
Tell us, what do you offer? I know we've talked a little bit about this, but tell us, when someone is going through this kind of experience, first of all, what's the best way for them to reach you?
Well, they can reach me through, probably the best is my website. They can reach me through the foundationofrespect.com, and I have a contact form.
Wonderful. And we've also put that on our Facebook page with Coffee and Coaching with Caryn. I've got that up there. I think it's up there 3 or 4 times. So anybody can definitely reach out. The Foundation of Respect also has a Facebook page, and it's just facebook.com, the Foundation of Respect. and it is a nonprofit organization, so you can easily reach Dawn through the foundationofrespect.com. Now, Dawn, tell us, when someone reaches out to you and they've got a challenge going on, we've talked about documentation and making sure they've got all this stuff written down, and the differences between just, casual, uncomfortable stuff versus something that is really a workplace incident, bullying, harassment. Tell us, what do you offer people when they first reach out to you for help? What are some of the first, one or two things that you can offer to them for help?
Yeah, if somebody reaches out to me, they've been bullied in the workplace, or they're traumatized from the bullying. What I can offer them is I offer them a 20-minute strategy session to talk about, the situation. A lot of times within, the first 10 minutes, I can give so much insight and, details. I mean, one thing that people are just surprised at, they don't even think about is, I'm like, document. That's why I got my settlement, is because of the documentation. That was the proof, and that's what really made the case so strong, is documenting it. So depending on, what the issues are of the person, I tailorize my strategy session, I consult with them to help them, whatever the goal is that they wanted that 20 minutes with me.
Okay, so you've got them where they're looking outside of that little box that they're living in, and they get to see, wow, there's a possibility and there's options. So basically, you're like a guide for them in walking that path of moving out of such a horrific place into someplace better.
Yes. Yes, I got the T-shirt.
you got the bumps, the bruises.
Yes, there's choices. There's a choice to be a victim or not to be a victim and to move forward. And there's always lessons in every situation that you go through, good and bad.
I wholeheartedly believe it. And again, people, we were talking about workplace bullying. Most of the time we think about bullies as being kids, older kids, things like that. We don't normally realize that, we don't recognize that bullying happens in workplaces all over the country, all over the world. And in the United States, the nice thing about it is we get to choose, and we don't have to be a victim. We can be a survivor and a triumphant, and we all have a level of respect that we deserve. And so today we are talking with Dawn Westmoreland about workplace bullying. Dawn, tell us, because every experience, even though we're going through it and it's horrific, at the time we're thinking, oh, this crap just sucks. I mean, I can be blunt about it, right? We're adults. And we say things like that to ourselves, and we're just, it's the negative talk and all that. But the reality is, if you take a step back or out and you look at it as an observer, and an objective observer, you'll realize, and I know I do this for myself, is look at it and go, wow, there's lessons to be learned here. And on the other side, there's going to be gifts. So tell me about some of the gifts and the lessons that you received in going through such challenges. What did you grasp after the fact when you were able to look back?
Well, it's funny. I just wrote a blog article about it this past week about the 5 things I learned while I was in the mental health ward. It was really about the 3rd day in the mental health ward. I was sick of being doped up. I was sick of laying there. I was sick of being a victim. I was sick and tired, and I was ready to take, massive action and change my life. I hated the person I had become. And as I said earlier, I really became the biggest bully, because I thought I was a victim. And even though things were rough, my pay, was being cut off by the Veteran Affairs. They would not let me work at home. And our job was all computer. And I knew other people were working at home. I knew they were trying to bully me, but I knew deep down inside that, I was tough enough to get through it. So I just, I really sat there, I prayed, discerned over it, and I said, I've had enough, So I checked myself out, and I said, from this day forward, that, I am going to be a thriver. I am going to do the things that I need to do to get through. And then we finally got a hearing date, which was faster than normal because the bullying was so horrific. So I look back and I thank my management, the experience for everything I went through, because it really was so miserable and uncomfortable. And even though I made really good money, I hated every day of my life working with people that didn't show respect to me or others. And I didn't like working in a job that wasn't fulfilling, that I wasn't passionate about. So it really helped me to move forward. And, I sought hypnotherapy through the hard times. I sought coaching. And then I loved it so much that I embraced it. I'm a certified hypnotherapist. I'm a life coach today. I love what I do. I love getting out there. There's no better feeling in the entire world than helping somebody, to help them to shift, to move forward, to realize that they don't have to be a victim. So I really got some wonderful gifts because I'm doing what I love and believe in, and it's so gratifying being able to help others.
Now, I know you're a certified life coach and you're also a hypnotherapist, so tell us a little bit more about the services you offer. And in coaching, is your focus primarily with men and women focused only on the workplace bullying and overcoming that, or do you have other areas that you enjoy working within? So tell us a little bit about that.
Well, my foundation is to empower men and women, and my practice as a life coach is basically, my niche is professional women who feel stuck, leaders in hiding, women who maybe need to set boundaries with people in their life, or they just feel stuck and they're not moving forward. And many times that's because of limiting beliefs. But I do work with men and women. I think mostly women seem to reach out to me the most.
It's empowering, very empowering to hear life lessons from people who have been there, done that. I've spent 24, 25 years as an entrepreneur, and over those years, I've been through all kinds of crazy things. I've thankfully, never had the experience of workplace bullying. I have gone through eating disorders, anorexia, bulimia. I've dealt with all kinds of abuse, physical, emotional, sexual abuse, and even down to taking care of a parent, an elderly parent, in his last 18 months. My father had no idea who I was, so caring for a perfect stranger. And so I've gone through a lot of challenges, and I've got a whole closet full of T-shirts to show I've come out on the other side. And I think that's the difference. There's a mindset, Dawn, and I think it's something you'll definitely be able to back me up here, where there's a mindset. You get to a point, and whatever the challenge, whether it's abuse or harassment, bullying in the workplace and in schools, whatever it is, you get to a point where you go, you know what, I'm done. And this is no longer going to be my life. And we make a conscious choice. And what I've always found, and tell me if this is something you've experienced, when we make those conscious choices and those decisions to make a change, all of a sudden the teachers and the guides and the mentors and the resources that we require show up. Have you found things like that to happen?
It's amazing. It's really just amazing that once you're living in alignment with your values and your goals in life, and you're doing what you're meant to do, it's amazing. People are coming to me that they want me to be on their radio show, or to come and speak, or to be at events and such. And so it's amazing how they're just coming out of nowhere, and that people I've never known or met. And just like when I was at Wayne Dyer's workshop, it was a writing from the soul workshop. There was literally over 500 something people, but intuitively I knew I'd get called on that stage to talk about what I do. So it's just amazing how things open that you don't expect.
Doors open. When the student is ready, the teacher will appear. Ladies and gentlemen, this morning, or this afternoon, depending on where you are, this afternoon I have been talking with Dawn Marie Westmoreland, and Dawn is the founder of the Foundation of Respect, which is a nonprofit. And Dawn, I want to thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule today and joining me. I greatly appreciate all that you have shared with us. So I encourage you to connect with Dawn and learn, first of all, what you can do to make a difference in your community and how to invite Dawn to speak and share with the people you know, your organizations, because this is a powerful message. So, Dawn, thank you so much for joining us today.
You've been listening to Coffee and Coaching with Caryn.
Thank you so much for joining us. Tune in next time for more Coffee and Coaching with Caryn.
Until then, visit us at coffeeandcoachingradio.com.
Caryn Fitzgerald is an author, speaker, business strategist, and leadership coach. Connect with her at coffeeandcoachingradio.com.